Hello, YouTube. Hi. It feels like 2011 all of a sudden. That is how long I have been making YouTube videos, but I have not been making them for quite a while now. I became disenchanted with the internet, which was weird because my whole business is on the internet. I've been tiptoeing back into public spaces this year, 2024, doing a little bit on social media. I've recorded like little video shorts that I posted here and on Instagram and on what is now called X, formerly Twitter, just to see what would happen, just to see if I had a preference for any of the platforms. And so now I'm here to see, do I like this? Do I like just vlogging on YouTube like I used to do back in the day? I certainly miss it, but there was a whole community back in the day, back in my day when I started in 2011, 2012, 2013. It was such a fun time and I miss it. But I also know that you can't go back. Perhaps I can create something new. Perhaps this will just be a short-lived experiment. I don't know, but here I am today. I just got back from Trader Joe's and it was so busy. There were so many people at Trader Joe's, and what impressed me about that is everybody was so polite. People were complimenting each other's outfits and we were bumping into each other, but everybody's like, oh, excuse me, sorry. It was just so crowded that you for sure were gonna bump into somebody. And I always find it moving when big crowds of people interact like that, especially in contrast with what you see going on social media and the way people sometimes treat each other. It just does not align with my experience out in the world, out and about. And the guy that was ringing me up and bagging my groceries, he asked me how I was. I said, pretty good. And I asked him how he was, and he said, really great. And I was like, wow, you don't hear that very often. And he goes, I know, people tell me that all the time, but really great is my baseline. And so we got to talking about our personal philosophies, and he asked me what I do, and I said, basically, I talk a lot. I talk and I write. And he goes, are you a podcaster? And I said, yeah. And he asked me what my podcast was about. And I said, it's about a lot of different things, but generally speaking, you might define it as personal development. And he's like, that's cool. I'm really into Stoicism. And to make a long story short, he started talking about how he doesn't really buy into any one line of thinking or join any one group. He just likes to take a little bit from here and there, whatever works for him, whatever sticks. And he respects that other people are like that too. And he's very curious about getting to know other people. And I was like, dude, you are speaking my language. We are so on the same page about this. And that was reminding me of something that I wanted to talk about in a podcast or video. And here I am doing it kind of in a dark room, but I don't hate the way it's looking on camera. So I'm just going to go with it. This is my office. It's where I work out. It's where I get dressed. Sometimes I work here. I have a really nice standing desk that you are sitting on right now, but I rarely work here because I like to work outside in the backyard, or on a rainy day, I like to work on Bed Island, which is right over there. My bedroom is right there, and I call it Bed Island. I have twinkle lights arranged around a big mirror that faces my bed, and then I've got like a window altar with prayer candles and little personal knickknacks, things that are meaningful to me, and an essential oil burner, and I make like a whole thing of it. And I've been calling it Bed Island for years. It's one of my favorite places to work. So the standing desk, this bad boy, it looks impressive. It's super cute with built-in shelves and whatnot, and it does not get very much attention. So we're putting it to good use today. And then here's the part where I might lose you or make you angry, and that is not my intention. But this is something that has been weighing on my heart for a very long time. Since 2016, very much since 2020, it really became more intense for me. And it's just something that I have tried to hold in and not talk about because I don't want to make a bunch of enemies. And yet it kind of like burns inside of me, the not talking about it. So I'm going to talk about it today, and we're going to let the chips fall where they may. If you disagree with me, that is cool. I would prefer if you don't leave a bunch of abuse on my channel and that you maybe just move on to somebody who does resonate with you. But I just want to be who I am authentically so my people can find me and I can find them, and maybe we can get some kind of little community situation going on here again. Whew, I feel nervous. I really have been carrying this around for a long time, and I hint at it from time to time. I have some amazing patrons that have supported me for years, and so if they're watching right now, I don't think this will come as a surprise. If you hang with me over on the platform formerly known as Twitter, I sometimes drop little tweets in this vein, but I just want to just say it and put it out there very clearly, and it is this. I think that tribalism is humanity's Achilles heel, and that we are tearing ourselves apart. And I'm a person who loves people. I am a people person for sure. Like, my experience at the grocery store is a perfect example of that. I gravitate toward people who are having an amazing day. I gravitate towards strangers who want to get into a conversation with some chatty blonde lady in line at the grocery store. I enjoy a whole variety of different opinions and beliefs. I just like people. However, I'm also afraid of people. And people scare me. Both are true. I love people and they scare me. And the thing that scares me about them is how viciously tribal they can be. Like, viciously tribal. And so full of self-righteousness that they can't see that they're being vicious or unkind. And this really came to my attention when I was in my teens and I left the church. I grew up in the church. Everybody I knew was in the church. My parents were founding members of the church. But some messaging as I got older and into my teens, it just didn't sit well with me. I didn't feel like what was being taught was what Jesus was teaching. I felt like it was all about control and fear and dogma and othering. And so I did leave the church, and that's when I kind of fell into personal development, Eastern philosophy, self-help, new agey things. All of that was really appealing to me. I was looking for the truth. I wanted to find the truth. And many times in my life, I have thought, oh, this is it. I found the truth, only to be disappointed. But that one big truth, the truth of the church, was very difficult to extricate myself from. I felt very guilty about it. And I always say it took me about 8 years to go through that process, but that's really just a guess. And I would say even to this day, I'm 50 years old now, even to this day, sometimes I bump up against some kind of like fear. Like, if my family finds my work on the internet, I get very hot in the face, like, what did I say? And I kind of feel like I'm in trouble because they're all very fundamentalist Christians and I am very not. Even though I think Jesus is a very groovy dude. I'm down with Jesus. I'm just not part of the religion, and I reject the dogma, and I reject the fire and brimstone messaging and all of the fear that is used to manipulate people. So as I was going through that private period, that like 8-year-ish long period, I was living in Hollywood and I was pursuing my dreams of being a movie star. And it was this really beautiful time before the internet happened. And so my friends, the people that I was hanging out with, nobody was talking about politics or dogma or religion. Everybody was just kind of obsessed with making it in the movie business and where was the cool hot spot to go out that night. And that's kind of all it was. It was really fun and super creative. And that time will live on in my mind as a golden era, even though I suffered a lot because I was young, I was a hot mess. And that's a story for another day. But once the internet came along, I gravitated right into these dogmatic groups. And the raw food movement was so appealing to me in this way because these really beautiful, shiny, they look young to me now. At the time they didn't. I looked up to them. But these young, healthy, vibrant, tan, glowing people were preaching the gospel of a raw food diet and how it cured them of all these things. It will cure you of anything. It'll make you super high vibe. And at the same time, I was really gravitating toward Wicca and magic and nature religions. So it was all nature, 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 nature. I was in nature all the time. I was putting nature in my face. I was consuming nature. I was smoothing nature on my body. I was into it. And these communities, both of them, were so fun. It is when I found the magical community online, and it is when I found the health nut community, let's say, but with a heavy raw food emphasis. And it was really fun for a minute, and I was very excited about it. And I went all in until I started having some health problems. I got so skinny, like painfully skinny. I was losing my hair, and the messaging started getting really weird and dogmatic in the raw food world about what you can and you can't eat, and judging people, judging their bodies and their faces and their health and their spirituality. Like, people were not high vibe if they weren't on this diet. And if they had health problems, they just didn't know how they would all go away. Their health problems would miraculously go away if they had so many juices and smoothies in a day. And it just started feeling more and more restrictive and weird. I started questioning things like, why is so much time spent trying to approximate bacon and bread when we're supposed to be talking about how this is the natural diet, this is how humans are meant to eat, and so why do we spend so much time trying to come up with something that will taste and feel like bread or bacon? That was kind of funny and weird to me. And then I started noticing that the language really echoed religion. It became about cleansing, constant detoxing and cleansing and getting higher and higher. And that started kind of freaking me out. It started feeling very spooky. And then in addition to vilifying people who weren't eating this perfect high vibe diet, it started breaking into factions. And so there were the people who ate fat. Those are the people who were eating avocados, nuts, coconuts, things like that. And there were the people who were strictly like fat-free raw vegan. And there was one guy in particular who was just such a bully. And the thing about bullies is followers gravitate toward them for some reason. And so these people started bullying these people, and then they started fighting with each other. And it got really scary to where if somebody left the raw food movement, or somebody who was maybe a leader or somebody who was putting out a lot of videos talking about raw food, if they started eating cooked food, God forbid, or meat, sacrilege, the whole community would come after them like they had been possessed by Satan. And I saw real abuse taking place. And so the whole thing just fell apart for me. And I realized I had gotten into another religion. And I was so shocked. But the parallels were just so obvious. They were clear. And I saw that a little bit happening in the magical community too. That was a slower progression, but it did happen. It actually started happening with politics in the magical community, and I just find it scary. Like I said, I think people are scary, like people who are so wonderful and everything's so nice and they're kind to you and they're telling you how much they love you, and then all of a sudden they're coming after you. And they're making it their business to obsess on everything. This has never happened to me. It's just something that I've witnessed happen to other people. And if you're familiar with shadow work, you know that witnessing somebody experiencing abuse can actually impact your shadow. And you can end up like pushing down qualities into your shadow that hopefully will keep you safe. The idea is to stay safe. If you see somebody being bullied for something, you're like, don't do that thing. don't do that thing because you don't want to get bullied. You don't want to lose your community. You don't want to lose your tribe. And so I saw some of that happening a bit in the magical community. But once the 2016 presidential race happened, oh my gosh, here in the United States, I was so into it at first, like so into it. I was just Hillary Clinton everything. One of my best friends, she bought me like a Hillary Clinton prayer candle, kind of as a joke, but not, because I was just so into Hillary Clinton. And we were so devastated when she didn't win, like super invested, as you should be. I think it's important who runs the country. And I'm not saying that I was a fool for doing that, but I am saying the way that I was invested was very intense. The way that everybody was invested, no matter who they wanted to win, was very intense. And there was tons of bullying going on. So much bullying that there were like these secret Hillary Clinton groups because they were afraid of the Bernie bros. And it was so reminiscent of what I was experiencing before in the raw food movement. It was scary. It just scared me. Tribalism, mob mentality, self-righteousness, these things always go together. And it's frightening because people on an individual basis are usually so kind. And what I experience when I'm out and about in the parking lot at Trader Joe's just bears no resemblance to what I experience when I'm on Twitter. So around that time, maybe the year after, I started heavily getting into curation. I left Facebook altogether and I stayed on Twitter because I have a preference for Twitter because I'm a word person. I love to talk. I love to write. I love words, and Twitter is all word-based. It's like a place that writers gravitate toward because you can just write out a thought. You don't need to have a picture or a video. It's really just about words. And so I've always loved that. But around that time, I came to really appreciate how customizable Twitter is. It's so customizable, and I got really good at customizing my feed. So I would only like or click on or comment on things I wanted to see more of, which was cute baby animal videos, people sharing pictures of their garden, people being really kind and supportive, videos of people who were doing something to help an animal in need, things like that. And they had a feature, they still do, they had a feature where you could click not interested in this. Anytime somebody came on being hateful or judgmental or posting some really scary news story, I would click not interested in this. Not because I don't care about the news, but because I don't want the news. I don't want my friends on social media telling me the news. That's not what I'm there for. I can go to the news to get the news. I can go to the media outlet of my choice to find out what's going on in the world. And so I found that I was really good at curating my feed. And so I started seeing what I wanted to see and creating the kind of space that I wanted for myself. And then when COVID happened, everything that went down in 2016 just amplified all the more. And there were the anti-vaxxers and the vaxxers. And there were scientists and doctors on both sides. And both sides thought that they were 100% correct and that the other side was super dangerous and putting everybody's lives at risk. And I found it scary, the way that people treated each other, the way they treated their friends and their families. And it was just abuse city everywhere I turned. It terrified me. I actually became very obsessed with my parents around that time because I was scared. And it brought me to like an intense appreciation for my family. We have completely different political views and completely different religious views. And it did not mean anything to me. I just realized how much I loved them. I didn't understand what was going on with this virus. I was afraid of losing them. And so I really just like pulled in and obsessed on my family and the few friends that I remained close with. And I continued creating content for my patrons. But I really pulled back from the public because it just got so ugly and people got so mean and They were so filled with conviction and self-righteousness. They felt entitled to abuse strangers. And I don't know, it freaks me out. And now we're headed into another presidential election. And I feel like it's going to be a doozy. So what am I doing here on YouTube telling you all this? What I'm saying is I don't want to be a part of anybody's tribe. I don't want to be a joiner. I just want to be a kind human who loves what I love. I want to feel free to change my mind anytime I want to. I want to hear your opinions. I enjoy a difference of opinion. It's how I learn about people. It's how I understand people. If I don't understand something that's going on, I like to ask. I like to dig in and get really curious about it and try to understand why somebody has a perspective that's completely different than my own. And I make a lot of room for nuance and for flaws and for people to be wrong, including myself. I don't automatically assume that what I believe is the correct, true way. I always have in the back of my mind, like, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I've changed my mind before, and it wouldn't be the first time that I was wrong about something. So I give myself that grace, and I give other people that grace. And the tagline to my podcast is, life is change, change is magic, magic is life, and the journey is the creation. And that is so the way I live. Like, life is change. It's changing all the time. I'm changing all the time. And this journey that I'm on is one of constant creation. Like, I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I don't know what I'm going to be into. And so I'm not going to pledge allegiance to this or that political party or religion or food dogma. I'm just going to keep doing my best and trucking along and trying to get the most joy and beauty and love and kindness out of each and every day that I can, and to put as much of that into the world as I can, and let people who enjoy that, let people who share that perspective find me so we can find each other and we can have a non-community, just a place to chit chat with each other and to enjoy this miracle of life. We're here for such a brief period of time. It's heartbreaking to see so many people obsessed with the internet, obsessed with their enemies, obsessed with fighting, obsessed with the news, to the point where, hours and hours of their day are spent on this, and they're missing all the beauty all around them, especially during the springtime. Just go outside. Go outside. It's so beautiful right now, at least in the northern hemisphere. Spring is popping up everywhere. Let it move you. Let it open your heart. Let it soften your heart. And go to the grocery store. Go to the grocery store with a lot of patience and curiosity and talk to some strangers. And don't worry about if they believe what you believe. Just be human with them and come home with a smile on your face, because that can happen. I get that sometimes we're in a hurry. I get that sometimes we're just in a grumpy mood or we're feeling really impatient. I don't recommend going to the grocery store during those times. I don't know why this is about the grocery store. I spend a lot of time at the grocery store. But people are so much cooler than we give them credit for on the internet. That's my point. And nature's amazing. Nature's amazing. People are awesome. I'm going to go on loving people. I'm not going to let my fear stop me from doing that. And so here I am, back on YouTube. Let me know if you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any requests for future videos, if this resonated with you, if this pushed your buttons, but you still are willing to hear what I have to say. It's all good. Until we meet again, always remember, life is change. Life is change. Change is magic. Magic is life. And the journey is the creation. Much love to you. Peace.